natural science and mathematics, and will be like my third year here. And I'll let Vanessa introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Rubenfeld. I'm the ECS Career Specialist for the College of Engineering and Computer Science. I've just been here about, I think, 8 months. So I can't wait to finally be in person, hopefully soon, and hopefully I can meet everyone eventually in person. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I think both of us have a lot of experience working with transfers. We love working with transfer students. So, please, yeah, feel free to always, reach out to us if you ever want to talk about your career. So really the idea for the focus of this workshop, right, was to try to talk about, what are we doing right now to find that internship or job? Because we know that some of you are in the place now to look for internships, but some of you are getting ready to graduate and are looking for that full-time job. So we wanted to have this session a day to kind of cover both of those areas. So our objective today is to really talk about some strategies to really help you get that position you want, and to come up with creating goals for yourself to help you find that position, especially right now during the pandemic. So before we get started, I think just some notes here that we're just to keep yourself on mute, and then you can use the chat. And then, oh yeah, actually we'll probably kind of skip this kind of thing. So, and a little thing about the Career Center. If you don't follow us already on Instagram, I'd recommend you following us on CSUF Career. Something I like to mention is, you have Vanessa and I, but we have a specialist for every single college. And plus we have a huge team of other people at the Career Center. So we're a very active Career Center. I can't even keep track of all the events that we do. So I always say, just follow our Instagram, because that's where you'll find out about all the great events that we have for students. And just to note that you can always schedule to meet with us virtually, and you could do that on our website, at the Career Center website. But we also do something we call drive-through services, where it's for quick questions where you don't need an appointment. So that's a great time to get your resume or cover letter checked, because that will usually just take, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. And we really try to have a lot of flexible hours, especially for maybe those of you who want more evening times. On Tuesday, Wednesdays, we do extended hours until 6:45. So that's just a great opportunity for that. We also wanted to promote that we are having our big internship and career fair next Wednesday from 1 to 5. Some people ask me, do I have to come the entire time? You don't. The cool thing is you can just show up the anytime between 1 to 5. RSVP, you can find the link on the Career Center website, or here's the bit.ly. And the thing that I would really recommend before you go to a fair is to check out these videos that are on the Career Center website. That will really kind of walk you through training you to how to navigate the fair. I know you all are very tech savvy, but I've been noticing a lot of students have some tech difficulties for the fair if they didn't go to a training or watch the video. So I'd really recommend watching the video, so you just kind of understand, like, how do I wait in an online line? Because that's kind of the weird part of career fair. It's like you'll be waiting in a virtual line, and then the company, once they're available to talk to you, they'll reach out to message you that they're able to talk to you either by Zoom or like a phone call kind of thing. So yeah, I really recommend going to those fairs, because that's really your chance to really talk straight to the company and really get some advice from them. Okay, so as we transition now, let's start getting started talking about the job search. We wanted to kind of promote this slide of what kind of qualities that actually get you hired, which was from a college report from Michigan State. And so I like to kind of show this because, especially I think in STEM, a lot of people say they'll get hired based off of their experience, based off of being, studying STEM, which are great skills, but there's a lot of, I would say, hidden skills or hidden qualities that companies are also looking for to hire someone. So I like to mention that enthusiasm is important, and especially during the interview. A lot of feedback I'll sometimes, hear from employers, or when I practice interviews, they'll say, oh, well, that's your student didn't look like they were interested when they came and talked to us. They looked bored. And that idea is to really show that you're very happy to be there. You want that job. Another quality is the fit. And that really just means, like, are you a great fit for that position? Are you going to fit really well with that team? Of course, everyone loves people who are going to be hardworking, who produces high quality work. But other skills is, especially, as a student intern, but especially also as a new professional, they really want you to show that your professionalism, right? That you're not going to show that, um, kind of those, like that you kind of want to step away from being seen as a student, but really as a professional, that they can rely on you and trust you, and that you're going to be there for that position. They love qualities as being flexible, and especially right now, like looking for someone who's going to be able to adapt and be okay with all these changes that have been happening. Maturity is a great quality too, to give them confidence that you trust yourself, and have that initiative to take care of projects you're assigned to. Independence is a great quality too, that they can also trust you to, be able to manage your work and your projects. Great. So let me go to the next slide. Um, we wanted to also mention to beware of the job market. Every occupation and industry has been affected in their own way. So, really suggesting to really try to understand what the field is at right now. And a lot of that can be just from talking to different people, right, who are in the field, or looking at what kind of positions are available right now, because every, yeah, position and occupation has been changing. We like to put this slide too, to just kind of show behind the scenes, how it actually takes to get hired into a position. It does take time. And I like to put this slide because, every so often I'll see a student who tells me, I need an internship. And I'm like, great. I'm like, when? And then they're like, next week. I'm like, next week, you need an internship next week. It's going to be really hard to find an internship in a week, right? And the idea is because the companies are on their own timeline. They're not really on, our timeline that we would like to get hired. They have their own agenda. So what will typically happen is, you apply to that position, and then your application will get screened, and usually, for a big company, it's going to get screened by a computer system. And then they kind of, they'll review those applications and see who's going to be selected for an interview, which right now will most likely be virtual. And then depending on the company, there may be a series of interviews, right? And some may even require you to do a test or complete a project, and then you'll be offered that position. So this can take, they usually say from actually getting interviewed, it takes about like 20 days to a month to get hired, right? So that's just from the actual interview. So that's why we always say to try to give yourself, about 3 to 6 months of time to find that internship or job, and especially for those of you who are on the job for the full-time job market, right? You should be looking that full semester before you graduate, that semester you're graduating, to really put a lot of that time into searching for positions. So, before COVID, on average, it took Americans 5 months, so I'm saying, and then so to try to give yourself, some time to look for a position. This is also for yourself too, not to feel hard on yourself. It does take time, because sometimes I'll meet students after they graduate and they're really hard on themselves. They didn't find that position. But I'm like, it's okay. It takes time. And and everyone's on their own timeline too. It's okay too if you want to take a break before, starting the job search and all that kind of stuff too. But again, if you are in that, like that, you really need to find a position by a certain time, this can really help you figure out, okay, I need, this X amount of months before to start researching and applying. So being okay that it may take some time to find a position. And so what we really recommend, is to be proactive. And that really means, to really take advantage of a lot of the resources and opportunities. Talk to people, go to events, letting people know that you need a position. And then especially right now, we really recommend to follow up with companies. Companies, especially during the pandemic, have been some of them have been doing hiring freezes where they can't really hire. But right now, a lot of companies are opening up again. So you may want to try to follow up with them to kind of see like what's happening. Are they hiring, or are they having a freeze right now? Or if you've seen a position that you're applying to that's been posted for a while now, like, over a month, and you're like, are they still hiring? I say to give them a call or email them, before you submit that application, because they may tell you, oh yeah, we already filled it, or they might tell you we're not going to hire for another couple of months. So at least you know where you stand before taking the time to submit that application. Um, and then here we usually say, your dream job could be waiting for you. So something that we like to also mention is to think about what you want to do in the meantime, or having some backup options too. So sometimes we meet students who, they graduated, but it's taking them some months to look for a position. And I always say that's a great time to maybe work on having some personal projects. This is really common in computer science, where you can create your own project to work on, and you can start adding that to your resume. Or, when companies during an interview are like, hey, you graduated, but you're not working, like, what are you doing right now? And you could tell, and you can mention, hey, actually, I have this project that I'm working on, and at least that lets them know, like, you're still active, you're still like engaged with your work. Some of you may want to look into doing like contract positions or temporary work, which can be a great way to get your foot in the door, or just get some experience on your resume, which also may lead to a contract position that they may end up, being a really good fit for you and that company. They may hire you on for a full-time position. And then also there are companies that have, you may want to look into if they have an internship pipeline program, where basically with their interns, they have a program to actually get you hired on full time. And so usually this will be more like at bigger companies, where they'll actually, and you want to check if they have an internship or new graduate section, where they'll usually highlight if they have an internship pipeline program. Okay, and then here will be a section on, yeah, getting ready for that job search. So I always think of like it's creating your own little like toolbox, and your toolbox is going to be your resume, your cover letter, and LinkedIn. Those are great ways to start getting, updating your tool set. So for those of you who want to work on your resume, we have links here. If you need a resume template, the Career Center has those. We have a cool online tool called Vmock that the university purchased for our students, where you can, if you have your resume already made, you could submit it on Vmock, and then basically they have artificial intelligence that will scan your resume just like these HR systems, and then will give you an instant score out of 100 and give you feedback right then. And I've noticed that a lot of times too, that AI is a lot smarter than me. It'll catch a lot of things that I might not notice, by quickly glancing on a resume. So that's a great resource. And then you can always get your resume checked by someone at the Career Center. Okay, great. And then Vanessa's put in some great like links here too, that if you wanted to check out the Vmock, you can definitely do that. And then we just have like links here too, if you want to read more about like resume tips and things like that. And you're always welcome to meet with us to kind of get your resume checked. Cover letters. So I usually get a lot of questions about cover letters from STEM students. And I usually say, if they say a cover letter is optional, do it, because that means they'll look at it. If they say it's required, you definitely do it. And if they don't mention anything, you don't have to do it, or you can always contact them to ask, can I submit a cover letter? Because then they might say they don't even look at it, or they might. So for myself, when I'm hiring, I love cover letters. So what I like to say about cover letters, that it should motivate me to want to bring you in for the interview. This is your persuasive letter to kind of really motivate me, like to motivate me that you're the best candidate. I need to meet you. I really want to talk to you. So this is just a nice draft of what goes into a cover letter. And you could later on click on our link to see the sample ones that we have. But I really do think that it's going to make your application stand out if you have a strong cover letter. Another tip is to update your LinkedIn profile. So I think Vanessa and I both like LinkedIn. And it's a really great tool. It's a free tool for you to basically market yourself and start creating your professional brand. So An idea for those of you who need to make a LinkedIn profile, take a photo of yourself, or just have someone at home just take a photo of you like shoulder up, a plain background behind you, write a catchy headline in your summary. And then this could be a great way to start connecting with people, and I always say to try to connect with at least 100 people to kind of give yourself that goal to start reaching out to people. Great people to start contacting is finding alumni in the field that you want to go into. Start connecting with them, try to talk to them about opportunities. And then you can also have people that you're connected with try to endorse you for your skills. So for instance, if you say you're really great at C++, you can have like your connections endorse you in C++. So if a recruiter looks at your profile, they're like, whoa, this person must really be good at C++ because 30 people said that they're skilled in that area. I also really like recommendations. You could ask someone to write you a free recommendation on your profile. And it basically becomes like a free letter of recommendation that if a recruiter or a company looks at your profile, they can really read about you and see like, oh, this person seems like, yeah, they are a great person to work with based off that recommendation. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Shonda. So moving right along more in terms of our job search, there's a lot of great websites to look for jobs. So I would definitely recommend starting with Titan Connection. So Titan Connection is the same place where you've actually made appointments with us. So once you're in Titan Connection, on the left-hand side, there's a link that says jobs. And under that link, it says search for jobs and internships. So once you're in there, it'll actually give you a lot of options. And so there's different ways you can filter out either internships or jobs on campus or off campus. And so you'll definitely want to use those filters. And you can also search for academic credit or non-academic credit internships. And so Titan Connection is actually the best place to start. And so you can be connected. We'll put that link in the chat as well. And so that's the best place to start because employers on there are actually looking for Cal State Fullerton students. So you definitely want to start there. And then also internships.com is a great place to also search for internships. You can upload your resume as well as Titan Connection and on internships.com. And once you publish your profile and resume on Titan Connection, also employers can find you directly on there. So they may reach out to you once you have, thanks Shonda, once you have uploaded that information. And then wayup.com is another great place to find internships. Built in LA is great for tech startup companies to look for full-time jobs. So they'll actually, there's a way you can filter out the less than 1 year experience, for example, and that's a great place to start for entry level positions and different tech meetups they have there as well. In addition, Indeed.com is a great place to find any kind of job or internship, and a great way another tip for Indeed is to upload your resume every week. So employers and recruiters can find you more often when they keep seeing that your resume is being uploaded on there. And then you can filter out the different job titles on there with putting and or in between each job title. So that's another great thing. Career Builder, very similar to Indeed. It's a great place to find internships and jobs. And as Shonda mentioned, LinkedIn as well. Glassdoor is a great place. And the great thing about Glassdoor is they actually have raw information with past employees or current employees can anonymously upload or put onto Glassdoor what they liked, what they disliked, different things about the interviewing process about that company. So in Glassdoor too, you can also find, the up-to-date, companies that are hiring. They have newsletters they can send out weekly or monthly in terms of those highest paying internships. I sign up for those. I try to send that out as often as possible. And Simply Hired is a similar type of website, and Link Up. So all of these sites are great places to find jobs and internships. And so let us know if you have any questions about those in particular, but Titan Connection, as I mentioned, is a great place to start. And so in terms of, in addition to these sites, you can also search for jobs and internships at professional association websites. So for example, if you are part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, they do have their own job postings there. So if you look at the Career Center within these professional associations, you can find the specific type of engineering roles that they offer. And so definitely get connected if you aren't already with a club or organization on campus with an ECS or NSM. They are connected to the larger organizations, the national associations. And so they have their own job fairs, they have their own conferences. So you definitely want to stay connected. Even in this virtual setting, they do offer those opportunities. I also recommend if you do have like 3 to 5 companies in mind that you really want to work for and you just can't seem to find their postings on their Indeed or on Titan Connection, definitely go to their website. Some companies like Tesla, like they'll only post, like large companies, they'll only post their postings, their actual openings on their website. So you do want to keep an eye out for those and start your own job alerts for, those actual websites. Social media too, some companies will only post their positions on their social media sites. So you do want to try and follow, in addition to our social media, you want to follow the specific company social media sites, because like Twitter, Instagram, some of them are only posting their jobs there as well. So be aware of all of those in addition to the sites that we send you. And as I mentioned, definitely create job alerts to be emailed to you. And so now we're going to talk about organizing your job search. So one tip that I really recommend is to stay organized by using a spreadsheet. And there's a great website we will share with you that is just a great spreadsheet, a template that's already pre-made that you can utilize to upload all and any information that you have in your job search. So for example, the company name, the job posting, the actual link to the job posting, or even also saving the job posting. I'll talk to you about in a second, but definitely have a link to that. And then the date or in which you applied. Did you do the research? Did you send a follow-up email to them? And the date you sent all of that. So you want to have all of these information, in one cohesive area. And especially for the next steps, you want to be aware of what you are doing for the general information for that job and the pre-interview, post-interview, all of those. You want to have a separate spreadsheet for all of those. So there are templates on here that are very helpful to utilize. And in addition, you definitely want to create a folder. So you want to have digital folders for each of the positions you apply for. So let's say you have a folder that's called Tesla. So if you have a specific resume, like we mentioned, resume, you definitely want to have for each, and cover letter for each position you're applying for. So of course, the resume and cover letter will be tailored to that position. And so it's great to have your own digital folder for resumes for Tesla, or resumes for that cover letter for Tesla, and the job posting. So as I mentioned, in addition to having a link to the job posting, Shonda said that she started saving copies of the job postings because sometimes, companies will take down the job posting once they close the application, and then you just don't have access to it. But you really want to be reminded of that job posting and what was that description. What were the skills they were looking for? What were the qualities they're looking for? And what are the preferred qualifications? All of those things you want to have access to at your fingertips when you're really going back before that interview to review them. And so really understand, what are they really looking for? I can't remember. Let's say you apply for 50 jobs. So it's great to have, in addition to the link, if they have taken it down, then have an actual screenshot of the posting as you're applying. And so in addition, you'll have that spreadsheet. All of these things could be in that career folder and those separate folders within each company or organization you applied for. You'll thank yourself later. And definitely follow up with the companies you want to apply to. So what I've been telling a lot of students, Shonda, feel free to add, but I've been saying that recently, because of COVID, every company is a little bit different in their timeline, but I would recommend, generally speaking, even for STEM, wait about, I would say 6 to 8 weeks. Typically, once you've applied for the position, they could wait 2 to 3 months sometimes even to get back to you. And so it's okay to follow up, but you definitely want to wait, I would say 2 months at least if you can. I know it sounds like a long time, but because it's COVID, on average, I would say 6 to 8 weeks to wait to follow up. And so after the deadline. So let's say the deadline just passed, you still want to wait at least a good 6 to 8 weeks before following up. And at that point, if you followed up, you don't hear back. Sometimes that happens. Big companies, especially, they do have a lot of people applying. And so it's okay that they may have ghosted you, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but sometimes that happens. So don't be discouraged. Just be aware, you did everything you could. And definitely, also reach out if you can to try to create your own internship. So if you can contact them and contact a company, you never know until you try. You never know until you might ask about opportunities to even volunteer with that company. Let's say, you have this dream company in mind and, you don't see an internship posted on there. You just see full-time jobs. Well, you really want to get that internship if possible before trying for that full-time job. And so I would recommend contacting them. Or if you know of an alumni that works for that company that you really want to work for, then definitely reach out and ask, is there a way I can volunteer? Or is there a way I can create a possible project or an internship? Even if it's very short term, it still will get you some great experience. And definitely networking is another thing. I know we've mentioned this so much before, but we can't reiterate it enough. And so 80% of finding a position is really networking. And so other employers from alumni will definitely tell you this, but you definitely want to make a list of friends, family, professors, alumni, anyone in your network that you want to reach out to help with your job search. And then contact people on your list for career advice as well. If there's someone that let's say it's your friend's uncle, you've never met them before, but you did notice on LinkedIn that they work as a software engineer, for example, and you really want to find out more about becoming a software engineer. And, let's say they may not be at the company you want to work for, but they do have experience in the field. That person may know a bunch of other people in software engineering. And so you definitely want to reach out to as many people as possible and just ask them, I would love to maybe take a few minutes of your time if possible, just to ask a few questions about how you got into the field, what you like about the field and things like that. So that's a way of informational interviewing. So we will get to that in just a moment. But networking is really something you want to spend time doing, especially right now, in this virtual space. It's so important. And so, as I mentioned, you want to find any alumni you can. So one thing we mentioned was LinkedIn. So as being, a current student at Cal State Fullerton, that really gives you some leverage to reach out to alumni. And, they don't know you, of course, but they know that you're a Cal State Fullerton student. And so one way to do this is there is a link there, but also when you are on LinkedIn, if you search for Cal State Fullerton, and then once you're on the Cal State Fullerton page, it'll have a link to alumni. Once you click on that link, you're able to then find alumni that work you can go based off the company they work for, or you can go based off their job title. And once you find that alumni and you're curious about what they've done, you've kind of looked over their profile on LinkedIn, and then just reach out and just ask, just say, introduce yourself. And you were just wondering, you're saying, I'm also a Cal State Fullerton student that I'm studying software engineering. I noticed you also went to Cal State Fullerton. I would love to find out more about your journey. And so you're not asking about, for a job or internship, you're just wanting to know a little bit about their journey. And that's just a very simple way of connecting with them. So anytime you do click connect with someone on LinkedIn, you want to always add a little note. And so that humanizes the interaction. And so in addition to that, we'd recommend joining student clubs. So I did kind of mention the ECS specific or NSM clubs that are available. And a lot of them are still meeting virtually. So it's never too late to join a club. Even throughout the semester, they offer, any newbies, usually they're open to having you join at any time. You'll definitely want to check with those specific clubs, but we will share more information if you have more questions about those. There's tech meetup groups. So meetup.com has a lot of great meetups that you can join virtually right now. And then even Eventbrite too. I always get notifications for tech Eventbrite meetups as well. And so definitely, those are free usually. So definitely keep in mind, those are available. Builtinla.com, as I mentioned, is free. They do have tech events in a virtual setting right now, depending on the company. Certain companies on there will post their own events, so you definitely want to follow them. Attend career events. We mentioned our career fair is coming up. The one next week is general fair, but you never know who will be there. You never know who you'll be able to network with. And so even if you're not really actively searching, it's still a great place to go to network. And so, right now we are virtual, but it is still a great place to find out more about employers and interact with them and get used to interacting with them in this virtual space. In all of our Career Center events, we do have employer panels, alumni panels, workshops. Those are all great ways to network.
Oh, and I wanted to add something because I noted lately I've been meeting with a lot of NSM students who are trying to look for like a medical internship, like because they're pre-health, like maybe pre-med. And I keep asking them, like, are you part of a health club? And they keep telling me no. And so, and the big push is if you're pre-health, like pre-med or whatnot, like it's really important to join those type of clubs because they'll bring in the companies to come talk to you. And that happens with Vanessa and I a lot, like where a company will tell us, I want to talk to these students, or can you tell me the club so I could talk to them? Because their mind is thinking like, that's my captive audience. I'd rather talk to the pre-med club rather than opening it up to everybody. So I really recommend like make it easy for yourself, join clubs, and that way those students can start telling you all the insider tips about companies too.
Yeah, a lot of large employers are targeting diverse student clubs right now as well. So they'll sometimes bypass me and go straight to the club. So definitely keep that in mind. And just a quick note on networking with recruiters. Even if you think you may know a recruiter, you might have interacted with them, be careful. Try not to annoy or bother them, especially ones you've never interacted with. I would only recommend reaching out to them if you have contacted them before, you've already had some kind of interaction with them. For example, you met them at a career fair or at a workshop at a club. Just be mindful of that. And then also, as we mentioned, alumni are more likely to respond in the field that you're interested in rather than a recruiter, because recruiters get so many messages over and over, so they may either not have time or they just may be bothered by that. So just be aware of that. And then if that person's working at your dream company, you really don't want to be on their naughty list. So be aware of that. And as I mentioned, the informational interview is just a way to talk to people that are in your industry. So, like I said, you can ask friends, family, someone's uncle, their great uncle, someone who's even retired, they might be likely to want to talk to you. Any classmates might know someone. Professors, especially within these fields, they're so niche that they would know someone within this field outside of academia, let's say. And alumni, the options are endless. And we do have a link here on how to ask someone. But like I said, you just want to keep it simple. You want to reach out. And if you are connecting them with them on LinkedIn, you want to make sure you have a note that just says, like, introducing yourself and telling them you're a current student. You're also studying a similar field. And you notice they also went to Cal State Fullerton. You would just love to hear about their journey and what they like about their field, or just take a few minutes out of, if they have a few minutes, to either respond via email or in a phone call or a Zoom session, whichever is to their liking, to their convenience. And anytime, once maybe the summer comes, or even right now, if you have extra time, you want to think about updating your skills. So if you notice there's like a skill that's posted on a job or internship that you may be unfamiliar with, let's say, there's Python or Java that you just haven't felt like confident enough in, there are classes online. And as a student at Cal State Fullerton, you have LinkedIn Learning for free. And so definitely take advantage of that right now. So when you go on LinkedIn, once you have your profile, on the upper right hand side, there's 4 different little square icons. And when you click on that, you'll be able to connect with LinkedIn Learning. And so you'll just kind of make your own profile. And then from there, those are all free, and they have badges, digital badges you can post on your LinkedIn profile. And so that way, that'll kind of alert employers that, oh, okay, this person does know a lot more than I thought, rather than just the degree they're receiving. So think about that. I mean, it's a great place to do to update your skills right now. It's a great place to start in terms of finding out more, right, about the skill sets in addition to the degree, because everyone's getting the degree, but what are you doing in addition to your degree? And, we just want to tell you to be patient and kind to yourself and others. I mean, this is a difficult time for everyone, but you are building your professional image and your brand. And of course, be nice to others. You never know who you'll encounter and what they might have to offer as well. But, if you're being genuine, if you're being kind, no matter what, people want to help you. Just be authentic, be yourself, be kind, just regardless. And so a little bit about the interview, we want to discuss things to keep in mind. So right now, we are really in this virtual setting, and a lot of employers still are really conducting virtual interviews. Even this could even last for a while, we don't know yet. But just some tips to conduct a successful video from home, or video interview from home. So definitely do a trial run. You'll want to practice as much as possible. Set up your camera and any headset or microphone ahead of time. Make sure you have the software available already installed in your computer. For example, some companies use Zoom, some companies use WebEx, Teams. I mean, it just depends on the company. You want to be aware of the software they're using in advance. The ideal background is tidy, distraction-free. Make sure it's a quiet area where you are handling that interview and it's well lit so people can see you. Dress professionally, at least from the waist up. And avoid making hand gestures. I'm guilty of that, but as long as they can't see your hand gestures, it should be fine, because sometimes these hand gestures might look like stuttering on the screen. And so, as I mentioned, you want to really practice interviewing. So one way to do that is really to analyze the job description. So you want to know that job description as much as possible. You want to make a match of how you fit the job. So write down the skills and examples you've done. So think of as many examples of you as you can that relate to that job description. You want to really show how you qualify for the job, and research the company as much as possible. Try to know as much as possible. Like, even in addition to the website, if you can talk to current employees, if there's a way for you to find out even more, like maybe special projects they're working on that you may not have known even just from the website, that will really give you an advantage, and you can leverage that knowledge in your interview. And using those things in mind, having those things in mind, you can practice interviewing with any of your career specialists. So either Shonda or myself, you can practice a mock interview with us, or even friends and family. And we have Interview Stream. It's a great platform to practice interviewing. So keep these in mind when you are, let's say you have an interview coming up in a week. Well, if there's an opening, then we can definitely practice with you. And then if we can't meet with you, then there's a lot of great places. As we mentioned, Interview Stream is a great place to practice in this virtual setting. And then also, you can record yourself on Zoom. You can kind of just practice overall, like practicing the sample questions. And so, thinking of these sample questions, create a list of common interview questions. So we do have a link to some common questions, but also job specific questions. You want to also keep in mind Glassdoor has some examples, but make a list of questions. Just, you don't know what they're going to ask, but make a list of sample questions and use those to practice. And we also have those available for you if you do practice with us. But if you're unable to practice with us, make sure you have a list of the general questions and also the industry specific questions. Like, for example, one of the most common questions they will ask you will be, so tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work for our company? What can you bring to this company? What makes you unique, right? They'll ask you a variety of questions. What are some of your strengths? They could ask maybe some of your weaknesses. That's more of an archaic question, but be prepared. Be prepared for that challenge question. They might ask, tell me, what has been the biggest challenge for you and how did you overcome it? And they may never ask like, how did you overcome it? But you always want to be prepared to answer that, right? And so Shonda's put in the chat the top 20 common job interview questions. So definitely save that link. That's going to be really helpful for you when you are practicing. And I also want to say, for an interview, make eye contact as much as possible, make it feel like as natural as possible. Sit up tall, just really be aware of how you're presenting yourself and dress professionally. You really want to be as natural as possible. And so the way of doing that is just really practicing stories too. Have at least, I would say, 10 stories ready to go, meaning the stories are examples. So have several accomplishments ready and have several maybe challenges ready and how you've overcome those challenges. And that you can really tailor into any question they ask. So we just kind of went over that. So practice as well. We did link Interview Stream in the chat. And so, friends, family members, they can interview you. You might feel more comfortable practicing with them, but definitely ask us, to practice with you. You can make an appointment with us, and it has a link for a mock interview appointment. And after the interview. So once you've completed the interview, you may think, oh, I'm done. I don't have to do anything. No, that's not true. You want to actually assess that interview. So right when it's fresh in your mind, like every time I have an interview, I always write down the questions that they asked me, as many as I can remember. And so that would be done right after. You want to also remember the responses you had, right? You may have thought of like a couple things, but whatever you can remember, write them down. Write down what you answered with. That could help you in the future for the next round of interviews to prepare, right? Also get the contact information. You want to make sure if it was a panel interview, get all the emails of every single person on that panel, because you do want to send an individual thank you follow-up email to every single person that interviewed you. And also make sure the admin, the person, the hiring manager, even if they weren't in that interview, you want to email them separately to thank them for that opportunity. You want to show that you're going out of your way, that you're really interested in the position, and follow up with the hiring manager, as I mentioned, or anyone who helped you set up that interview. And then make sure you're including that short email why you're a good fit for the job, and anything additional that you didn't maybe get to mention in the interview, but make it very quick, very short. And then notify your references at that point. After the interview, they may contact your references without letting you know. So you want to make sure they're aware that you were just interviewed for this job. You can send them your resume, just kind of inform them. Of course, you've already gotten their permission, I hope, to be your reference. And then you want to go ahead and send them your resume and anything relevant about the position you just interviewed for. And just some mistakes to avoid when applying to jobs. Sometimes it's, waiting too long to apply. I always recommend, try not to apply for a job that's been posted for over 30 days, because at that point, it may be posted and it may not actually be available. So be aware of that sometimes, the 30-day mark is typical, that if it's still posted after 30 plus days, then it may not even be hiring. They may not even be hiring anymore. So you could still apply, but I would just keep that in mind. Just don't wait too long. Definitely 60 days is much too long. And don't send in generic materials. There's a lot of templates out there for both resume and cover letters. Some are great, some not so much. If you have any questions, let us know, but please don't copy any just template for a cover letter, because that's the worst thing you can do. A lot of employers will know that's copied. It wasn't your words. And one of the main reasons you do write a cover letter is for those writing skills. They do want to see that you know how to write, that you have, mind of your own, and you're not just copying and pasting. And you want to apply to more than just a handful of internships. You want to apply to as many as possible. There's really no limit to how many you can apply for, especially in this climate. You want to apply to as many as possible. I really don't have a minimum number, but of course, more than a handful. One mistake is failing to follow company instructions. Of course, you want to follow the instructions. If they're asking for a cover letter, make sure you have a cover letter. It's not an optional thing unless it says optional. I also say, if it does say optional for a cover letter, always include a cover letter, because it's another way for you to introduce yourself to the employer as a prime candidate in addition to your resume. And always follow up with them. And yeah, as Shonda mentioned, make sure you're coming across as enthusiastic and as passionate as possible during the interview. So some goals as we're wrapping up, to think about your next steps for your job search. Of course, update your resume anytime you have something new in your current position, or even a project that you're working on. If you think of it right away, go to your resume and LinkedIn, update it as soon as you can, or else you might forget it. Schedule an appointment as well with the Career Center with one of us, or even come to the drive-through without an appointment. You can also just come there in our set times to look over your resume. Create a LinkedIn profile right away if you don't already have one. And interview professor alumni about potential jobs you can do, right? They may know someone that is in the field of what you want to do. So be prepared to go into interviewing, like those informational interviewing with the professor, because that's already your contacts right there. And set up email alerts for the jobs, right? Practice interviewing. Always practice with, like I said, with one of us or friends and family. Make sure you create that spreadsheet to organize your job applications. And I would say apply by the end of the month. Let's see, where are we? We're already towards the end of the month, but make sure every month you're applying the very least 15 to 20 jobs or internships. That's actually the bare minimum, I would say. And let's see.
Yeah, and we wanted to put the slide too because we don't want to overwhelm you, but
Mhm.
and the idea too that we understand, like with all of us, we're kind of in our own career journey. So some of us may be at that phase of like, I'm at the beginning, I need to just work on that resume, right? But some of you are like, you know what, I got all this, I need to just start applying. So that idea too, like we wanted to just give you some ideas and for you to start thinking about, yeah, what goals do you really want, for you at this time?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it may seem overwhelming. We don't want it to be overwhelming,
Right.
but we're here for you and we're confident you'll succeed, of course, if you try.
Yeah, so I always think of Vanessa and I are kind of like your cheerleaders in a way. Really, the idea,
Mhm.
yeah, we're here and we're really glad that you're here today, and we're going to be part of that team to help you. So just know that, yeah, we feel really confident that you showed up today and that that you're actually making this effort to
Yeah.
invest in yourself, and we'd love to help you. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we're here for you. You're not alone. You have a support system. You have a network. We're your network. We're part of that network. So we're always here for you. Absolutely.
Great. So thanks everybody. Yeah, we can take some questions or thoughts or
Yeah, thanks, everyone.